Well, I played basketball at Arkansas State University in Jonesboro, Arkansas for 4 years, and I was a starter there my last 3 years.
And I believe you've had some recent experience in Sweden.
Yes, I just got back 3 weeks ago from the season in Sweden. I played for a team in Stockholm.
What was the standard like in Sweden?
It was decent. The competition, you play against good Americans, and the Swedes are lacking just a little bit.
So what you're going to find here in Australia is going to be a surprise, because I believe you don't know that much about it.
Yes, I don't know anything about it.
So it's a live and learn situation with our National Basketball League out here. I know the Australian people, the local fans, believe the game is improving in standard in Australia. You've probably seen a bit of them in the Olympic Games.
Yes, I was talking to some people on my plane over here, and they was telling me how the competition was getting better and the teams were getting better, and they was telling me about how they did in the Olympics.
And the players are getting taller. You're what,
Yeah.
6'10" in the old money?
6'8".
6'8".
Maybe 6'9".
And how does that place you in American basketball?
It's a good size forward in America. A lot better. Some of the others.
Music formed the basis of today's entertainment at the Newcastle show, with a Sunday Fun Day including the Young Talent Team and Newcastle's own Fame School attracting thousands of people. Although today is the last day of this year's BHP Centenary show, entertainment continues this evening with the Warren Daily Big Band at 7:15, and at 8:30 a Radio 2KO fireworks display. Away from the centre ring, the attractions of Sideshow Alley, which today drew large crowds, will also continue. Entertainment of a different variety was provided today in the form of an arts and crafts carnival. About 400 Lake Macquarie artists and craft enthusiasts participated in demonstrations and the display of sale of items. Those arts and crafts represented included an exhibition by the Hunter Valley Woodturner Society, a display of Barker's firing by the Newcastle Studio Potters, and a demonstration of self-portrait painting. The Roaring Horns Jazz Band hoped to attract 3,500 people who had attended by midday. Is it a bird or a plane? Well, of sorts. These are radio-controlled model aircraft, and they're capable of almost anything their larger counterparts can do, except perhaps carry passengers and cargo. Over the weekend, some 300 enthusiasts from around the state converged on Metford near Maitland, with the first of 4 country fly-ins to be held throughout the year. Some of the scale models can get up to speeds of 300 kilometres an hour and can cost as much as $2,000. All planes have to be hand-built, but not all the owners care to fly their masterpieces, as Kevin Ross from the City of Maitland Society of Aero Modellers explains.
Those fellows are usually ace builders and can't bring themselves to fly their creation. So they get some of the top ace flyers of the club to actually fly the aircraft for them.
What's so good about this sport?
Well, it's a tremendous sport as far as the activity is concerned, but also the building and maintaining of the models and radio equipment. It takes a long time to build a model and a lot of maintenance, so that you've got something to do during the week. After you finish watching the evening news, you can go and work in your workshop on the models, you see.
The builders, the Doran Group, considers Lake Macquarie Fair to be its showpiece. Yesterday there was last-minute work to be done on the 40 specialty shops in the $20 million building, but the tenants were determined that all would be completed before the doors opened for business this morning. The complex also includes a Woolworths Big W variety store and supermarket. Still, this is only one of a number of shopping complexes in Newcastle, so what will ensure its survival and success? Development consultant with Doran, Mr. Brian White.
Well, we did a lot of initial planning on this development. In fact, we've been working on it for 3 years now, and all our planning suggests that there is a need in this part of the community, and we're looked into that, and we're confident that we will be providing a need that is out here, and I guess the public will have to judge themselves ultimately, but we're very confident that they'll appreciate what we're doing and the services that we're providing for them.
The official opening was attended by shopkeepers, contractors, sponsors and aldermen from the Lake Macquarie City Council. In keeping with an agreement made with the council, the centre will contain childminding facilities. So, to show he kept his part of the bargain, the managing director of the company, Mr. Paul Doran, handed over the keys of the childminding centre to the Mayor of Lake Macquarie, Alderman Jeff Parsons. The Mayor then officially opened the new shopping centre, thanking all those involved for having faith enough to build in Mount Hutton and for creating some 320 much-needed jobs.
We have some wonderful attributes.
Marge, this is quite a change from the post office you were running.
Yes, it's a lot different. It's a great asset for the town.
11 years ago you took over from the old brick post office when it was closed.
That's right.
And it was actually moved to a little pocket of your veranda.
That's right, yes.
Now your family's been involved in this area for many, many decades now. When was your first relative here?
The first relative came in the 1880s, and my husband's people came out by sailing ship.
I understand you're not going to just spend your retirement sitting on your veranda, you're actually working on a big project.
Yes, it's the centenary of our Presbyterian church here this year, and we're having celebrations on the 29th and 30th of June this year. So I'm sort of writing the history at the moment.
Well, that's quite a project for you. Joyce, you're a newcomer to Minmai. How do you think you're going to be accepted as a newcomer?
Hopefully, very well. Everybody's been very helpful, warm and friendly, and particularly Marge.
You're going to use part of your premises, I understand, for the local children to use as a meeting spot and so on to begin with.
Yes, I think that would be quite a nice idea for the children to be able to, say, I'll meet you down at Minmai Trading Post and we'll sit down there and either read the paper, read a magazine, or have a can of Coke or something of that nature.
The chairman of the Australian Postal Commission, Mr. Doug Rickard, performed the official opening ceremony at Putri Post Office this afternoon. The new post office at the corner of Canton Beach Road and Hargrave Street cost $350,000. The new building replaces Putli's first official post office building, which opened in 1965. Putli Post Office has a staff of 29, including 10 postmen working from Putli, with 4 outstationed at Budgie Boy. They serve a population which is increasing at the rate of 10% a year.
training today, Coach Dave Anthony spelled it out to those present. That included well-known international Ian
If you're anyone who was a little bit fit to start off, if I thought I was being a goddamn
and captain
Hitler or
Ian Revilliard, Stuart Begg, Larry Davidson
Get those
is
hands
back
between
from the
you
100,
guys. Don't
and
mention
newcomer
names.
from
You guys
the
mentioned
United
about
States,
training,
Scott Horrell,
about we're doing a
an
lot of
unknown
physical
quantity.
fitness work. Scott has Jim by about 2 inches, and if we have a 6'8" Jim Bateman in Scott, we'll be in good shape this year.
What have you gained from seeing the fellow in this first hit out? Not much, I suppose.
No, we've only been going here for half an hour, and it's going to take him a week or so to settle in and see what we're doing. So we've got to be fair to Scott and give him a couple of weeks to show himself.
The teams to beat, has that changed from last year?
Well, I don't think, I think this year with the competition down to 14 teams, I think there's about 10 teams in it this year because there are no divisions. Last year 8 teams had a chance to make the playoffs, and this year it's only the top 4 out of 14, so it's going to be a dog-eat-dog campaign this year.
It was a chance to help the NBN Telethon and also to prove your talent in the first heat of the Fanny's NBN Gong Show last night. 6 talented people braved the crowds at Fanny's, and next week similar heats will be held at the Kingcumber Hotel on the Central Coast and the Caves Beach Hotel. Then it'll be back to Fanny's where the final contestants will be chosen. The 4 finalists will then appear on the NBN Telethon on the 22nd and 23rd of March, and the ultimate winner who will be chosen on that night will take away a 7-night holiday service paradise for 2. Newcastle will be the first to have the new bookstores and the only region to have the new heritage architectural design in all stores. Construction on the 2 new stores at Mount Hutton and Jesmond will be completed for trading by the middle of the year, with renovations completed on all stores by the end of the year. According to Managing Director Mr Robert Bothwell, the move displays his company's confidence in the region. It will also mean a boost in employment.
At that point, we'll probably be doubling our number of employees in the area. We currently have approximately 100 people on the staff. This will go to 200, so to that extent it'll certainly help the area. In addition, of course, there's a multiplier effect of the money we're spending to develop these new outlets. So overall, we think we're making a reasonable contribution to the future of the Hunter Valley.
With the new stores that you're constructing in the area and the renovations of the existing ones, is it possible you could reach saturation point?
That's a good question, and it's hard to answer. We've looked at saturation now for many years, and each time we think we've determined when it will happen, it keeps getting further and further away, fortunately for us. I think the market is growing. People's lifestyles are changing. We will have, at the end of this program, 8 units trading, including Maitland and Cessnock. At this point, that seems to be about the number that will satisfy the demand, but who can tell? Maybe in 2 years' time it'll become 12, 14, 16 units.
The vitally important new buildings will be built on either side of the Tunra House accommodation block, which is near Edwards Hall. Construction is due to begin in April, and the $1 million bill is being shared equally by the university and the federal government. The university had seriously considered buying several residential houses, but when the sums were added up, this kind of accommodation is by far the most economical. The 3 new blocks will provide 50 extra beds, bringing on-campus accommodation to 280 beds. Most universities have accommodation for about 10% of their student population. To attain that figure, Newcastle, which has 5,000 students, will still need another 200 beds.
I don't see any chance of us getting them in the near future. The provision that's been made to get these additional beds is the sole provision for this triennium, 1985 to 87. So 1988 would be the very earliest that we'd see any real additional relief of the pretty drastic accommodation situation we have in the university.
So you'll continue to have to fight the accommodation war on an annual basis?
Yes, I think we'll be up against an accommodation problem at the beginning of term 1 every year for the next few years. We certainly need something like an additional 200 or 250 beds on top of the 50 beds that will go up at Edwards Hall this year.
Before the five began their training routine last night, the management of Lingard Hospital, through their Assistant Administrator Michael Burns, presented a team with a cheque for $100 towards the NBN Telephone.
Telephone cancer bill. Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Janice Davis, Helen Bailey, Bill Meston, Trevor Pascoe and Philip Bellamy were chosen to run for the Belmont Swansea Lions Club in the Telethon Marathon after they completed the selection run last month. On Sunday, each will be asked to run 8 kilometres, and by 7 o'clock that night, they will have arrived, as will the other 4 teams, for the grand parade at the International Sports Centre. Last night, as they trained at the Lingard Hospital gym, that responsibility was foremost in their minds as they worked to achieve that peak in fitness. The Lake Macquarie City Council and the developers of the project at Glendale, Dalgety Hookers, won the first case against New World Properties in the Land and Environment Court, but New World Properties decided not to leave it there. According to the town clerk of Lake Macquarie, Mr. Harold Cumming, the company is using the same grounds of appeal in the Supreme Court as it did in the Land and Environment Court. Uncharacteristically, the council has thrown its support behind the proposed development, mainly because it solves some crucial problems for it. The developer has said that it will provide the finance for 2 bypasses to ease the traffic congestion at the crossroads in Glendale, and it will provide hundreds of much-needed jobs in the area. It's also been suggested that the nearby Cockle Creek railway station could be used by shoppers from the western side of the lake, solving the lack of facilities there. According to Mr. Cumming, New World Properties isn't using economic arguments.
Australia and the Hooker Corporation expect to have design plans into the council in the next 3 months. Conditions for rezoning include a number of side benefits.
It was initially planned to build a shopping centre on the Walls End Soccer Club site, and the recent rezoning of the land has paved the way for the project to go ahead. But New World Properties will not construct the Walls End Centre until a decision is made known on the future of the Glendale shopping complex.
For the horses and the farm stock, the Grand Parade represents the culmination of days of owner preparation, followed by hours of judging at the show. This year's Newcastle show had so much to be proud of in these areas. In Centre Ring, the show judges saw some outstanding performances, such as seen here in the A-grade from Sydney's Kevin Burke on a winning streak riding grey alone. And Burke is by no means the only one to have numerous clear rounds during this year's show jumper event. Centre Ring also saw perhaps the best turnout in many years of stock built flesh. The quarter horses, Appaloosas, were of an extremely high standard, considering the industry is near the bottom, as several breeders pointed out. Hastily added, however, that it's about to start going up.
687 and 88,
was your fellow
several cars of 89, standing on coke, 90 minutes.
The brown and white of the Ayrshires, mixing it with the Friesians, saw the best of both breeds locked in competition. Many of the top exhibitors at the Newcastle show are now already on their way to more fancy shows, and others with sights set firmly on the Sydney Royal Easter Show next month. This region has a reputation for producing the best in the nation in dairy prices. There is no doubt that reputation will not only be upheld, but most likely enhanced in the near future.